Hi guys, it's another video from me. Okay, so it's been a while. Basically, what happened is I got coronavirus and then I was just really tired, so I didn't film videos. And then it's kind of like once you're off of the routine and, you know, not doing it anymore, you kind of like just get into bad habits of not making videos. Anyway, so this video is a little bit different to the normal videos that I normally do. The usual videos that I do. So today I'm going to be talking about my experience with therapy and why I got therapy. So growing up, I didn't really have much of a normal childhood, I'd guess you'd say. The cats are playing in the background, so I do apologise if you can hear them. But basically, I suffered through quite a lot of abuse from, obviously, my dad. You know, not really abuse from my mum, you know. My mum's always been pretty good. We've obviously... I don't know what these cats are doing. You guys are crazy. No, my mum's always been pretty good. We've obviously clashed here and there, like normal mother and daughter do. But my dad was a whole different ball game. Not to mention that, you know, as a child I got horrendously bullied, and this led to a lot of self-esteem and self-confidence issues growing up. To start off with my dad, he was very mentally abusive and at times physically abusive. He was a very manipulative person, and he had a way of making sure, you know, just putting you down basically, like all the time. Yeah, he was just really mentally and physically abusive, which, you know, meant that I didn't really have much of a childhood in that regard. You know, when you see your friends, the friends that I did have at school, I didn't have very many. I think I had 2 or 3 that, you know, close friends at the time, I guess you could say. But yeah, it was just a lot to deal with. So, you know, you go to other people's houses and you'd obviously see their fathers were normal men. They'd go out to work, they'd have respect for their daughters, and, you know, growing up I thought it was kind of normal. Okay, so I had to cut that last bit out just because my phone decided to run out of storage, which is really annoying because before making this video, I deleted loads of videos and deleted apps off my phone, but I record 3 minutes and apparently that's just too much for my phone to handle, which is like, doesn't make any sense to me, but you know, here we are. And my memory card apparently still has loads of storage left, so I don't know what's going on there. Anyway, going back to what I was saying, I just didn't really have a normal childhood, and you know, your father is supposed to be your role model. Your father is supposed to be the one that kind of shows you how to respect yourself in a way. Obviously your mother does that as well, but you need both. If you have both parents in your life, you need them to both be showing you the same kind of love. So, you know, you have a father that's kind of he didn't respect his children very much, and, you know, I think that his famous words were, respect is earned and just not given, and you should always respect your children. Like, you should always respect. That's how children learn to respect themselves, is when they see their parent respecting them, and then automatically they kind of feel that they're worthy of respect. But when you have somebody who's always putting you down and lowering you down and thinking that you always kind of have to tiptoe around people and you have to do things to be respected in a way, like, I don't know, be really nice to people, be always pleasing people just so you don't upset them, just so you know. And, you know, he crossed a lot of boundaries that he shouldn't have, you know, with... one example, I guess, would be, I don't know, maybe always coming into my room and, you know, just sort of, I don't know, yelling at me for no reason, like, or not respecting the fact that I didn't like the fact that he spoke to me in a demeaning way. There'll be times when I tell him, like, the way you're speaking to me is not how a father should speak to his daughter, and, you know, it's things like that, really. But yeah, and, you know, if you grow up and your role models are constantly teaching you sort of how to not really respect yourself, or putting you down and to make you feel really self-conscious, it carries on into your adult life. And that's the thing, when you're a child, your parent influences how you grow up and how you hold yourself. And I didn't have a lot of respect for myself. I'd let people walk over me, I wouldn't set my own boundaries, and I'd be very insecure in myself. And it just doesn't make you happy when you're insecure of yourself. And it can lead to putting people down to make yourself feel better. It can lead to being overly critical of yourself. It can lead to you being self-conscious about the way you look. Hanging around with the wrong people that don't respect your needs and your boundaries. And, always trying to work too hard for people as well. Like, you shouldn't force someone to like you because that's kind of how you've been taught since you were a kid. It's almost like my father is almost like, oh, you have to do everything to please me. And, that's not how the real world works. That's not how it works. And this carried on into my adult life. I mean, I'd like to say that throughout most of my adult life, I've done pretty well considering what I've been through. And even in this video, I'm not telling you exactly everything that I've been through because, it's a lot to go into. But, it does have a massive impact on you when you grow up. And so, as a result, I'm scared of being in relationships because I just think that I'm always around to please someone else almost. Like, it was like, I don't want to be with someone if all of it's going to be is just trying to make them happy and, and my feelings aren't really validated. Or if I'm, going to set boundaries and they're not going to be respected, or they're just going to do as they please. And, one time my dad even told me, oh, don't ever expect a man to be faithful because if he ever has an opportunity to cheat, he will. And that's not something you should teach your daughter. The normal thing would be careful. Some people are unfaithful. You will have to watch out for that. I can only guess what the signs are, I can only warn you of that, but to tell you that every single man that you're going to be with is going to cheat on you is just the wrong, of course that's going to mess you up as a young girl. And I do remember actually sort of turning around and being like, oh, I don't think that's true because I know I wouldn't cheat. And he said, no, any person on this planet who has the opportunity to do it without getting away with it will do it. And that is not true. Like, if anybody ever tells you that is just not that is the furthest thing from the truth. It's not true. Everyone's morals are different and everyone aligns themselves differently. So, yeah. And, obviously, like I said, it carried on to my adult life. And, it got to a point where I kind of was stood at a standstill. There was still points where I wasn't really respecting myself. There was still points where I would do anything I could to please other people. I would put people down because it made me feel like, I was better than them or something. I don't know. And obviously I felt guilty for doing that because, you do it and you think, oh, you do it to kind of prove that you are worthy almost, and you don't need to do that. And I think that's why I did it. It was almost like but I'm worthy. I've always been down here, but now I'm up here and you're down here. And it's not a very healthy mindset at all. And, and it comes to a point where it was going to be a problem for my relationships and just how I hold myself in general, like my confidence and how I push myself. And in the end, I thought, you know what? I decided to get therapy and it's helped me so much and I couldn't recommend it enough. It kind of puts things into perspective a lot more and you're able to kind of see why you make the decisions that you make, even though it's the wrong decision when you're making it. Like, for example, before therapy, I knew that was bad. And I was like, oh, there was a part of me that's, you shouldn't do that. That's not, or why are you putting so much energy into people that don't care? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And then when you get therapy, it's almost like, you're doing that because this, and this. And then you think, oh, okay, that's a result of me not having proper modelling from my father as a child. It was almost like I just was thrown in this, into the world, and you kind of have to figure out what's what. And when you've had one model all your life like that, it does kind of as a child, it will wire into your brain and almost kind of, it's kind of normal to do those things. It's kind of normal to want to be better than people because you've spent your whole life being or feeling. I wasn't ever below anyone, never. But because I was always pushed down, when I was finally coming up, it was kind of like oh yeah, but look who's better now. And I was always the ugly kid, and and then it comes to a point when you start to feel more confident in yourself, and you're like, oh, actually, I'm not ugly. I'm quite attractive. In a way, you start being like, oh, but I'm more attractive than this person, and it's just not healthy. It's not healthy at all, and it's toxic. So, the way I get around that is everybody's different, and therapy is, was such a good thing for me, because you can acknowledge why you make the choices that you make, and why this can manifest in a toxic way, why you can get overly defensive when you're criticized, because you see it as someone putting you down and someone saying you're rubbish and XYZ, when it's actually not that. It's just what it is. It's criticizing someone. It's saying, oh, you could do this better next time, or which every single person gets criticized, And I think in a way there was a point where I was kind of not really victimizing, I guess maybe victimizing myself a little bit, like, oh, everyone's against me, everyone thinks they're better than me, everyone's this, everyone's that. And when you're being put down for all your life, it's almost like it becomes like a normality almost, and it's not normal. And it's definitely, with therapy, it's definitely given me a new sort of confidence that I didn't normally have. It's also taught me that it's okay to be assertive. It's okay to set your boundaries. Nobody's gonna, if somebody's gonna dislike you for setting a reasonable boundary, then they are not the person that you need in your life, because everyone has boundaries. No one, you could be laying in bed and someone could walk into your room and take something, and normally you wouldn't mind them taking it, but it's the fact that they didn't ask. And then they kind of take it and they say, oh, can I have it? And you kind of, say yeah, whereas really what they should be doing is, hey, can I borrow this? Instead of coming into your room, taking it, and then being like, oh, I'm just going to take this for a second, sort of thing. So yeah, it is very important. It's also important to not change yourself to be liked by other people. I've done that in the past, and I've ended up losing people because I thought that I had to be a certain way or this person wouldn't like me. And to be quite frank, it doesn't matter, because as long as you are confident in yourself, don't compare yourself to others, because it's always a slippery slope. You are your own person, and you have your own goals, and you have your own boundaries, and they should be respected just as you respect someone else. So another thing to look at as well, a way to tell that you don't really respect your own boundaries are, imagine your friend in a situation and somebody does something to your friend, and you think, oh, that's I wouldn't, don't let them do that. Don't let them know that's okay. But then it comes to you and you let it slide because you're like, oh, well, it's okay. But it's not okay. If it's not okay for somebody to do that to your friend, why is it okay for them to do it to you? Obviously, it depends on how your boundaries differ as well. There is that. But, if you're, say someone steals from your friend, for example, that's a pretty strong boundary to cross, which I don't think, is quite a universal boundary. If somebody steals from your friend and your first instinct would be to say, don't even associate with them, call the police, but say for you, for example, you sort of go, oh, well, he's going through a hard time, and you kind of make excuses for that person, and then you say, oh, it doesn't matter, I'll let it slide because I'm sympathetic or empathetic or anything, whatever excuse you come up with in your head, or because you don't like confrontation and you feel bad because that person has kind of backed you into a corner, just, and without saying too much, because I think I'm gonna be saying a lot of the same thing, and I think I already have said a lot of the same things. Do I recommend therapy? Absolutely. I do 100% recommend therapy, because you don't want to get to a point in your life where you've wasted a lot of time and energy on people that don't really care about you and just kind of want you around, or you're trying too hard for people that don't really want to make an effort, or you don't want to be in a situation where criticism is a way of someone kicking you down, because if you see it as that all the time, then you're never going to move past that, you know, if somebody says, oh, you did this wrong, for example, in a job, and your first initial response is, oh, that means I'm crap at my job, I'm so bad at my job, I'm so terrible. That's not what your response should be. Your response should be, okay, I'll do it better next time. I'll do it differently. See where you went wrong, why you did it that way. Did you miss a step? Rah, 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 rah. It's just about, I think with therapy, the main thing I'm getting at is it will help you, anything that can manifest in an unhealthy way, it can help you manifest it in a healthy way. It can help you understand that there are healthier ways of dealing with situations, and therapy will kind of say the reason why you don't deal with this in a healthy way is because as a child this happened to you, which makes you think that you always have to impress people, as an example. And you know if you ever sit there to yourself and you kind of think that you're mentally a bit stagnant and you're not really having any personal growth, or you start to realise you're getting defensive, you're putting people down. There's many reasons as to why you can get therapy, like so many reasons. It could be something that's happened in your childhood. If you acknowledge that in your childhood you were abused at any point, in any way, shape or form, the likelihood is you will need therapy or some kind of counselling or something to kind of go through the process, because what happens to you as a child changes your brain, and it will influence how you respond as an adult. It will influence how well you do, how you deal with situations, and everyone wants the best for themselves, don't they, really? Everyone wants to be happy, everybody wants to be healthy, everybody wants to be confident, everybody wants to be loved. They are all things that we all want, and for me, trying to get someone's love was the only way I knew how to get love. Whereas you don't necessarily have to try in that way. Like, obviously, relationships take work, but the point is, if there's somebody who you're interested in and you just keep going after them and going after them, they don't really say no, but they don't really reciprocate either. It's almost like mixed signals, it's almost like they're giving you mixed signals because they kind of like the attention, and then you're kind of getting into that cycle over and over and over again, and you kind of say, well, what's wrong with me? Why doesn't anybody want to give me the attention that I want? And you kind of realise that we're actually kind of going for the wrong people, because all you've ever known is people that kind of don't give you something straight, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? I hope that what I've said has helped in a way. I do recommend, as I said previously, I do recommend getting therapy, because it will help you work through things that you may have potentially had difficulty in your adult life, because you don't always realise you're doing a lot of these things until something happens, or you come to a point where you're like miserable. Yeah, it's massively helped me. I don't know if it'll work for everybody, but I can't recommend it enough. And I know, especially if you're from the UK, it can be, if you go private, it can be very expensive, and I do appreciate that. And it is expensive, and it's a shame that it is expensive, because I think a lot more people would need it. There is also the option to go through the NHS, but obviously there is a waiting list, which I know, if you were in my shoes and you realise how badly you need it, you kind of just really want to kind of work through your issues. You don't want to really have to wait, because you don't want to be waiting around. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching the video. I hope all of that made sense, and I do hope that it helped some people as well. I will be talking a little bit more about this in future videos. I'll probably focus more on specific topics as well, just so it's not as rambly, and just so, there's a bit more depth to it. And yeah, anyway, guys, thank you.